This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we turn now to the latest in the growing public scrutiny of the natural gas drilling practice known as hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. The House Committee on Energy and Commerce has launched an investigation into whether fracking is contaminating water supplies and posing other dangers to the environment and public health. The Energy Committee's top two Democrats, Henry Waxman of California and Ed Markey of Massachusetts, have asked 8 oil field companies to disclose the chemicals they've used and the wells they've drilled in over the past 4 years. Last week, Waxman also revealed 2 of the largest gas drilling companies have pumped hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel-based fluids into the ground in violation of a voluntary agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency. The developments come amidst a major environmental debate over hydraulic fracturing here in New York and surrounding areas. Both the federal EPA and New York City's Environmental Agency have come out against state plans to allow natural gas drilling inside the Marcellus Shale watershed, which supplies drinking water to some 15 million people, including 9 million New Yorkers. On Wednesday, state regulators in Pennsylvania will open a public comment period on a proposal for drilling permits in the Delaware River watershed. For more, we're joined by 3 guests. Here in New York, Joe Levine is co-founder of the groups Damascus Citizens for Sustainability and NYH2O, which oppose the gas drilling. We're also joined by Josh Fox, director of the forthcoming documentary Gasland, which won the Special Jury Prize for Documentary at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival in Utah last month that Democracy Now! Broadcast from for the week. In Gasland, Josh Fox travels across the United States to meet people whose lives have been impacted by natural gas drilling. And we're joined on the phone by Lisa Bracken. She's in Gasland. She lives in a wildlife sanctuary near Divide Creek in Colorado. Divide Creek suffered environmental damage in a blowout caused by natural gas drilling. Well, let's begin with Josh Fox. Absolutely incredible film, Gasland. Tell us how you got interested in fracking and exactly what it is.
Well, my family's home is in the upper Delaware River Basin on the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River. And we were asked to lease our land for gas drilling. In 2008, we got a letter in the mail, offered a significant signing bonus of almost $100,000. And then I heard reports of this technique called hydraulic fracturing and how dangerous it was, and began to look into it, and soon discovered a world of complete insanity. Towns that were turned completely upside down, widespread water contamination, people that could light their water on fire right out of the sink, all manner of upheaval. And for where I'm at, you know, in the upper Delaware, which is part of a combined watershed that gives 15.6 million people their water, this was really alarming. And so being a filmmaker, I got on the road and went to about 30 different states. The film focuses on about 10 of them. It's a road movie. And, you know, went from place to place and discovered the same story, that the gas drilling companies were saying one thing and that the people were getting something quite different. And uncovered this Orwellian nightmare of, you know, people being promised a great deal of money and then, you know, ending up with towns that were ruined. And so, you know, as I went along on this trip, I became more and more interested in how this happened. Found out that the 2005 energy bill, which was pushed through Congress by Dick Cheney, exempted the oil and natural gas industries from the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Wait, repeat that.
Yeah.
The 2005.
It's hard to believe. 2005 energy bill. There's something in there called the Halliburton loophole, which exempts the natural gas industry specifically for hydraulic fracturing, this technique, this new technique that they use to extract the gas, from the Safe Drinking Water Act. And the technique itself injects an enormous amount of toxic material into the ground, causes these mini earthquakes through hydraulic pressure. A lot of that, and we don't actually know what's going on under the ground, because when the Safe Drinking Water Act, when they were exempted from the Safe Drinking Water Act, they all the science stopped. The EPA was taken off the job. But what we were finding was across the country were these chemicals showing up in people's water, methane and other volatile organic compounds such as benzene, toluene, and xylene were showing up in people's water supplies. And so, you know.
Josh, I hate to interrupt you for a clip of your own film, but let's turn to Gasland. In this clip, Josh visits the home of Mike Markham of Colorado. Markham demonstrates how his tap water is so toxic that he can set it on fire.
Oh, yeah, I saw it go up for a second.
Yeah. We'll just give it a second here. Whoa, Jesus Christ. That's the best I've done.
Now, that was amazing, but for our radio listeners, they might not understand what happened in that wordless demonstration.
Well, this is Mike Markham, whose water supply is still hooked up. He noticed bubbling and gurgling in his well, and there was pockets of some kind of gas or air. And he, you know, when this happens and they complain to the Colorado Oil and Gas Commission, they come over and they stick a cigarette lighter underneath the sink to see if their water is flammable. So a lot of people in that area, which is a heavy gas drilling area, would go ahead and test it themselves. And he discovered, lo and behold, that he could light his water on fire. So what you see right there is this enormous explosion coming right out of Mike's sink. I ended up doing it myself, you know, and lighting the water on fire out of the sink just moments after.
Isn't water supposed to put out fire?
It is, you know, and in a lot of these cases you have...
you have the cones where you have someone take a cone and put it outside on their property.
Right.
We're showing this image now. Explain what it is.
Well, that's in Divide Creek in Colorado, where they had hydraulic fracturing creates underground fractures. And in that case, they showed that this underground fracture migrated all the way up from, I think it was a number of thousand feet down in the ground, and got this plume of natural gas. And when you have natural gas unrefined, you have benzene and toluene and these other volatile organics that are carcinogenic going right up into the creek. They could light the creek on fire. And you know, this phenomenon of lighting water on fire is you know, fairly widespread in these areas. And when that happens, the gas company will swoop in, replace the people's water supply, give them cisterns that they then fill up, you know, however much water they need. And in many cases,
keep on filling up the cisterns.
Yeah. Well, in many cases, people have to sign a non-disclosure agreement just to continue to get that water.
Lisa Bracken, speaking of Divide Creek, Colorado, is with us now from Garfield County. Explain what happened to your family, Lisa, to your dad, to your property.
Hi. Well, before I really say too much, I'd like to sort of preface my comments with the fact that I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm actually an independent voter, and I consider myself a person of common sense. So when Encana came into our neighborhood back in 2003, it was, Orwellian is a pretty good word to describe it.
You said Encana?
Encana, yeah, Encana Oil and Gas. That's the operator that's in our area, and has been here for over half a decade. And boy, I tell you, in that time, it was just unfathomable what we experienced. They came in just so aggressively and began exploration without, you know, obviously sufficient regard for any kind of human health and safety, personal property rights, anything like that. And they were after one well in particular because it sat on a very shallow formation, and they could get to it much more inexpensively by drilling fewer feet. And so, you know, they came in, the word had it that there was a competition in the field between them and another crew working simultaneously in the area, which is common in the gas fields. I mean, anywhere these guys worked on construction sites, you know, crews take great pride in sort of, you know, getting ahead of their competitors on the same job site. And there's, you know, good reason for that economically, but sometimes safety suffers. And in our particular case, you know, we think that's what happened. They were working on the Schwartz well, and they lost thousands of feet of cement. What that means is when they were drilling the hole to access the gas thousands of feet down, in our particular formation, it's about 7,000 feet down, they encountered what they believed was a fault, a large fissure underground, which basically the wet cement fell into. So they were trying to case the sidewalls to keep the gas from coming up, which really